Hi, my name is Montalvo from Better Homes and Gardens, and today I'm going to talk about insurance. Now, there's different types of insurance. There is fire, there's earthquake, but today we're going to focus on flood insurance. With me is Johnny Huang from EQ Insurance. Johnny, how you doing?
Hi, good.
Great. Let me ask you, Johnny, flood insurance. Now, obviously, the different perils, but this particular insurance covers one peril.
One peril of flood only. Right. If you know insurance at all, fire insurance, which covers the fire, the wind, the accidental discharge, or anything that's accidental and sudden, will have exclusions such as earthquake and flood. And flood is one of the perils that are excluded in a homeowner's insurance policy.
Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, when it comes to a property, we have to protect our property, and flood is one of the seasonal things that can happen, but we don't know.
Right, and good thing you brought up seasonal because we're having an El Nino season this year. But flood insurance usually is purchased in two different ways. One is if it's required by your lender. Mortgage companies will have the ability to dictate within your loan conditions that flood insurance is a mandatory insurance program that you have to buy, just like fire insurance with a mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one way for insurers to say, hey, I need flood insurance because my lender says so.
Mm-hmm.
The other type of buyer for flood insurance is people who don't require the flood insurance with the mortgage lender, but they still want that protection anyways because they know that they're in a zone or they're in an area that may overflow from some other property onto their property, so they want that coverage.
Mm-hmm. Specifically, flood only covers the personal as well as the building, or how much of the building does it cover?
Well, on a typical national flood insurance program, it will cover the building up to a cap of $250,000 and your personal contents up to $100,000 only. You can buy lower limits, however, there's a caveat of co-insurance clause within that program.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, it only covers building and contents.
Mm-hmm.
It does not cover additional living expenses, which in other words is room and board if you were to be displaced.
Mm-hmm. So flood insurance is specifically for flood. So the fire will not cover, the earthquake is not going to cover it?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. The flood policy, and just to go over the definition of flood, is really an inundation or an overflow of a body of water that is other than your property,
Mm-hmm.
that comes into your property. The specific rule is that it needs to overflow from some other source. A body of water could be a stream, a lake, a river, or even a pool in your neighbor's house.
Mm-hmm.
But it must come from another property onto yours
Mm-hmm.
in the result of a heavy rain.
Mm-hmm.
It must be inundated and overflow because of the weather.
Mm-hmm. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, flood insurance only covers the first level of the property, if it is 2-level, 3-level?
Correct. Typically, it's meant for just the building and the cleanup of the first level. Flood, obviously, when flood rises, I don't know if there's floods out there that goes up to second level. I'm sure Katrina has a lot of second level flooding, but it's really meant for the first level, yes.
Mm-hmm. Now, that doesn't cover a storm, that will be under fire, right?
Right. Heavy rain or wind will be covered under your fire insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have damages because of that storm, then yes, it will be covered that. The only time when the flood insurance kicks in, again, is if it's inundated from a body of water that's other than your property to come onto your property.
Mm-hmm. Now, other than the bank requesting, can other people, renters as well, or I know residential homeowners can get flood
Mm-hmm.
insurance when they want to, but can renters also get flood
Yes,
insurance?
renters can purchase flood insurance on their own as well to buy contents-only coverage
Mhm.
for themselves, yes. They can buy that. And actually, additionally, if you, let's say, for instance, a person rents a separate garage from a homeowner,
Mhm.
yeah, they can buy a renter's flood insurance for their own little granny unit if they want to as well.
Okay. Now, like earthquake, there are a couple options to purchase, where to purchase the earthquake insurance.
Right.
But in flood, there's only one option, right?
Yeah, there's really not that many options for flood, and the National Flood Insurance Program, which is administered by FEMA, is the only program out there. But they partner up with insurance companies to write these flood policies to make sure that it is coincides with the FEMA program. There is also one avenue called private flood, which is a Lloyd's of London flood program, and people have that option as well. Unfortunately, at EQ, we don't have that private flood market.
Mhm.
But the caveat with private flood is it sometimes does not match the lender's requirement.
Mhm.
So gotta be careful with that.
Okay. One important question is, when can somebody get the flood insurance?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, when people purchase flood insurance is when the lender requires it, so close of escrow or close of refinance escrow. Or they can purchase it on their own, but there's a standard 30-day waiting period
Mhm.
for the policy to kick in.
That's what I was saying.
And there's also the ability to buy excess flood as well.
Mhm.
So for instance, you have a home that's worth $500,000, but your flood policy only is written up to $250,000. Well, we have options to buy an additional $250,000 if you want the whole home to be covered. So that's called excess flood.
I see. Okay.
The flood is very simple. It's, you know, the flood program, although sometimes can get very expensive depending on which zones you are, it's actually very affordable in other areas. And during the El Nino season, I think people should consider having flood insurance.
Mhm.
You never know where the inundation of water will come from. And if you have a neighbor with pools, I would strongly suggest it.
Again, my name is Montalvo from Better Homes and Gardens, and I want to thank Johnny Huang from EQ Insurance. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And everybody else who's been watching this video, if you like to get insurance, this is a good opportunity for you to talk to Johnny Huang, and the information will be on the screen. Thank you so much.